Finally, on November 30th, Spider-Man is swinging his way into Marvel's Avengers. If you're playing on PlayStation, that is. I recently got the chance to spend 2 hours hands-on with Crystal Dynamics' latest addition to the roster and see everything the web-slinger has to offer. I came away looking forward to using his abilities more, but a little worried about what it is I'll actually be doing with them. A quick note here before we get going that all the footage you're seeing here has been provided by the developers and not captured by us, so may not illustrate exactly what I'm going to be describing here. Peter Parker's introduction to Avengers is slightly different to previous DLC characters. Called a hero event instead of an operation, Spidey doesn't have any of his own story missions, but instead feels more akin to a character joining a hero shooter roster. As with every other Avenger, Spider-Man comes complete with his own unique moveset and slots right into the frantic action. With a combat style largely centered on quick evades, perfect dodges and quick-fire melee attacks, he plays somewhat similar to a more nimble Black Panther. While a lot of his strikes are your standard punches and kicks, every now and then a more Spidey-like contextual animation will trigger, which feels entirely in keeping with the character. As with any of the Avengers, he also has 3 heroic abilities. Web Bomb causes area of effect damage and is naturally useful for crowd control, but also inflicts the new webbed status effect onto enemies. Once that status effect bar is full, a webbed enemy becomes incapacitated and much easier to take down. The Spider Drone is a patrolling AI companion that fires webs at any foe that wanders into its radius. You can choose whether to instruct it to roam a specific area of the fight, or set it to follow mode, offering some welcome flexibility on the battlefield. Lastly is Spider-Man's ultimate ability, the Wrecking Ball, effectively a giant ball of webs that smashes down onto the ground to damage anyone near it. It works in a similar fashion to Thor's Bifrost ability. Spider-Man feels great in combat, which is not entirely surprising. Hero design has never been Marvel's Avengers' problem. The same, sadly, can't quite be said for how it feels to play as Spider-Man outside of a fight though. In this preview build, I got to swing around the eastern seaboard region, which is the closest we're going to get to Peter's native Queens. A very high bar has been set by Insomniac when it comes to the fluid motion of Spidey, but even allowing some headroom, Avengers falls quite some distance short of it. Opting for the swing off of anything method, Spider-Man effectively swings from a glass ceiling in the air. In fairness to Crystal Dynamics, this is the only real option, with the majority of Avengers locations being rural such as deserts and snowy tundra. The developer also doesn't have the luxury of being able to design a whole city around the Spider-Man mechanics like Insomniac has. Despite this, some of the magic is there, especially for the first swing or two after each launch into the air. But that magic often swiftly and unceremoniously evaporates as Parker smacks his face into that aforementioned glass ceiling, and all sense of momentum is lost. The lack of true swinging freedom is noticeable, and while maybe it's unfair to compare it with the Insomniac version, it's honestly questionable whether the swinging here feels any better than Spider-Man 2 did on the PlayStation 2. All illusions are broken once you attempt to swing moderately high into the air and hit that invisible barrier, something that also affects wall running, which just stops you ascending somewhere past the 15th story like an out-of-service elevator. Stay low and you can build up some decent momentum, but show much ambition and you'll be met with some pretty restrictive forces. Describing Spidey's arrival as a hero event instead of an operation is basically code for don't expect any story missions, and that's exactly what you're getting. Apart from a short cutscene introducing Spider-Man to the rest of the team, the rest of what I saw of Peter's plotline about a suspicious chemical company was told through audio files, mainly emails and text messages read aloud, obtained once certain objectives were completed. These objectives are all standard Avengers fare that long-term players will be familiar with, such as perform 25 power attacks or play any 2 missions. Apart from a harm room tutorial, there's no new mission content here. The lack of content is definitely frustrating, and those expecting a new set of Spider-Man story missions to play will be left disappointed. One thing that Spider-Man doesn't lack, however, is outfits. Crystal Dynamics' latest addition to their Marvel Skinematic universe comes with around 40 suits. There's every colour under the sun imaginable, as well as some fan favourites from the comics such such as the Spider Noir suit. It's clear that a great deal of care has been taken in curating and designing these outfits, so it's a shame that the same attention doesn't seem to have been paid elsewhere regarding new missions or Spidey's traversal. Spider-Man has been a long time coming to Marvel's Avengers, and while it does remain to be seen whether the wait has been worth it, for the moment his addition feels more like a promise fulfilled through gritted teeth rather than one delivered with a smile. For more Spider-Man in Avengers, why not check out the latest trailer, and for everything else, stick with IGN.